I am Krishnamurthy, a student of late Professor M.O. Iyengar and later of Kathleen Drew of University of Manchester, UK. My experience of organ research goes back to 1942 when I graduated from University of Madras and joined Professor Iyengar's lab for research in algae. First problem I handled was freshwater diatoms of South India. That was a project given to me, and I completed a thesis for my master's degree in science, and sometime later. Actually, I didn't continuously work for 3 years or so as required by Professor Iyengar, but intermittently I completed. After taking my master's, you see, by 1946, I was employed as assistant professor in President's College, Madras. And while I was there, I was hoping that I can go to UK and work under some of the reputed professors. And Professor Iyengar, being a student of Professor Fritsch, he wrote to Fritsch asking him to recommend some lab where I can work. And it was Fritsch's recommendation that I should go to Manchester, work with Kathleen Drew, because he thought that she was the best person to guide me in my work. In the meanwhile, I had got interested in marine algae, because I was working first with the algae which are inhabiting the estuary of River Andreas near Madras, and then that led me on to marine algal work. And when I went to Drew, she put me on to a problem with porphyra. She had herself worked out the life history of porphyra, but wanted me to work on the cytological aspects of the life history, because that is something she had not done. She wanted me to complete it. I was working with her in that one. I think it was 1958. I graduated from Manchester, took my PhD, and then came back to my service. I continued my research on marine algae ever since. And being a government servant, I was subject to all kinds of assignments. So I did a stint with a medical college teaching biology for medical students, and then I did about 5 years in an engineering college teaching microbiology to public health engineers. Before I joined the Central Salt and Marine Chemicals Research Institute at Bhavanagar, where I was heading the algology division. There are two projects given to me. One is Survey of Marine Algal Wealth of India, and second was Cultivation of Marine Algae for Industrial Utilization. These are the two projects given to me. I organized cultivation of, cultivation of Gracidaria and Gelidiella, two important sources for agar. And then I also conducted a survey of the Tamil Nadu coast. Actually, I could extend to all of India. Tamil Nadu coast I initiated survey, and my successors then continued to work, and they did that. I was with Bhavanagar Institute only for about 7 years, and then I returned to my teaching because I felt that I should go back to teaching. And so I continued my teaching. See, as a government servant, I was promoted as principal of a college, and I started to some official station in the districts, and I spent about 7 years as principal of colleges in the districts in Tamil Nadu. And then I retired in 1979, and after retirement I thought I should keep myself engaged in research, so I joined another colleague of mine, one T.V. Deshikachari, who was also a student of Professor Iyengar, who had a couple of projects under him. I joined him on those projects. One was to do with the algal flora of India. Another was on the phytoplankton of the seas around India, both Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. These are the two projects in which I was concerned. And we collected something like about 4,000 specimens of marine algae, preserved them, and worked on those things. So we completed one book on the rhodophyceae of India. That is in 2 volumes. And then we couldn't publish all that we did. The volume on PFIC is in the press right now. It will be published within the next 2 weeks or so, and I hope it will be in the market soon. And then Professor Deshikati himself was working on the diatoms, and one of his students was on dinophysi of the Indian Oceans, all on marinology only. They are not attempting any work on freshwater algae. Having finished that, that project was over. We had the 2 projects extending over about 7 or 8 years. After that, I thought I should start an institute for algology in India, and the result was Krishnamurthy Institute of Algology. It was inaugurated in 1991 by Professor M.S. Swaminathan, about whom you might have heard. He is a great agriculture scientist, and he inaugurated the thing. And then in the institute, we had a basic laboratory to study algae of various types. I developed also a culture facility. And thirdly, I was interested in arranging meetings of algologists. So practically every year or every alternate year, I've been conducting symposia on various aspects of algae. Right from 1994 or 95, I've been doing that. And sometimes it's in the form of a workshop, sometimes in the form of symposia. And in 2009, I organized an international conference on algae, algal biomass, its resources and utilization. And only recently we thought, actually while I was still working in Mandapam under the Bhavanagar Institute, I started an association called Seaweed Research Association. Actually it's called Seaweed Research and Utilization Association. And that also has been conducting seminars every year for a long time now. And the Seaweed Research Association has its own journal called Seaweed Research and Utilization. It is in its 40th year of publication. And Krishnamurthy Institute is publishing a journal, Indian Hydrobiology. This is the 13th year of publication for that. So these 2 journals are my contributions to algology in India. And quite a number of people are interested. The membership of the institute at first was very small, about 30 or 40 only, and it has now grown to nearly 300 members. See, that is the way it has been progressing. So, institute itself had its location in various places, because I had to take rented premises only because I didn't have enough capital to own a building. So even now I am paying a rent for this building. And as the institute was growing, I had to change places also. At the beginning it was a very small place. Now we have got some spread about 4 rooms. A culture room is there. There is a general laboratory. There is a library. In fact, the best part of this institute is the library, because I have got about 7,000 reprints of research papers on algae gathered over the last 50 years or so. And that is the best part of it. I have got about 400 volumes of books on algae and the application of algae. Then, but I couldn't subscribe for many journals. I am getting Phycologia, which is an organ of International Phycological Society, because I am a member from the beginning. See, when it was initiated by Professor Papenfuss, I was one of those who joined early. So I have been continuing that membership. And then I have all the volumes of Indian Botanical Society as far as possible. Only in recent years I had discontinued membership. Then I have the entire publication of Phycological Society India, a journal called Phycos, that has now become extinct because they have not continued publication now. And these are the journals I am really having, because in the city of Madras, you have access to all sets of journals. There's a university, then there's a public library, Connemara Public Library. These have got all the necessary journals, so I don't want to duplicate them. That's why I'm keeping these only. And that is all about the institute. Seaweeds are useful in a variety of ways, not only food. Seaweeds are the only sources of agar, carrageenan, sodium alginate. See, these three products you can't get synthetically. There is no synthetic process for these, and you have to get them only from seaweed. They are all industrial products, industrial chemicals. For example, sodium alginate is used in more than 50 different industries in US. In India, it is limited, but more than a dozen industries are using sodium alginate. And then agar, of course, is universally used as a liquefiable solid medium for microorganisms. That is the principal use. But agar is also used in paper sizing, in glazing of paper, then in the better type of textiles, using for sizing of textile yarn and so on. It is used even in medicine. It's a gentle laxative. All these are uses of agar. And carrageenan, there is not any application in which it is not used. Wherever you want something to make a sort of emulsion or paste or something like that, see, it is used in toothpaste and everything. In almost all cosmetics, carrageenan is used. In medicine also, carrageenan is used to a large extent. And a moiety of carrageenan, you know, is very similar to what is that, anti-blood coagulate principle. You see, all these are, and medicinal uses, there are any number of medicinal uses, because the secondary metabolites of seaweeds are all very versatile, from hydrocarbons right up to phenolics, and then terpenes, and flavones. All these are found in marine algae. And one genus of marine algae, Lawrencea, has been worked out thoroughly. More than 250 compounds have been extracted from Lawrencea. And they are all very useful. See, this is the versatility of seaweeds. And the seaweeds can be used as source of biofuel also. See, the simplest way of seaweed use is producing methane. Make a slurry of seaweeds, add a Methylobacterium, you get methane. That is the simplest cottage industry style of thing. And if you want, you can extract lipids from some of the seaweeds. As much as 12% lipid is found in some seaweeds. The lipid can be converted to biodiesel. So these are versatile things. Not to think of that, any biomass can be converted to alcohol. The proper, so these are all things. And among seaweeds, you have a versatile. One advantage in seaweeds, they appear in such masses. You need not do elaborate cultivation. Microalgae requires cultivation program has to be launched. You must have special bioreactors and so on. Seaweeds, you can exploit the standing crop. That's the advantage of seaweeds. So, over even blue-green algae, which are so versatile, I sometimes feel that in some of the applications, seaweeds are much better. See, this is something which, and then seaweeds as fertilizers. Say, seaweed, liquid seaweed fertilizer is a very common thing now. First introduced by Booth in Scotland, and then from the 1940s, there have been major industries based on seaweeds. I visited one such industry in US where they were making seaweed meal, and then they were using in a variety of ways. All that has been done. So seaweeds are versatile. There is nothing that you can't get from seaweeds. Some of the rare chemicals also you get from seaweeds. So I think that is one thing. And then potentiality of seaweeds in some emergencies. For example, war and other things might restrict availability of iodine. Then you go back to seaweeds because that was originally the source of iodine. So all these are very important aspects of seaweed. So we can't neglect it. And seaweeds can be formed. That's another very interesting thing about it. The Japanese have been forming it for nearly 300 years or so. And it has been the fashion now everywhere. Every country has got its own seaweed farm facilities. China has started very late. They have developed tremendously now. They have cultivate porphyria, they cultivate laminaria, which is a major crop for them. And though in India we started the cultivation of seaweeds even before all these nations. Outside of Japan, India was the first to start experimental cultivation. And that is in Bhavanagar Institute. And though we started so early as that, we didn't bring it into a commercial proposition all these years. That's pity, because it should have been made commercial even in 1970s. But we had the technology, but we didn't expand it further. But only now, after introduction of copper ficus, they have started expanding it. But I really think we will have to go in for cultivation of agar yielding seaweeds. That is very important for India to feed indigenous industry. But copper ficus at present is not used in India. It goes to United States, where the world's biggest producer of carrageenan is situated, and that is how it is now. But I hope, see, one or two firms in India are trying to manufacture copper ficus, carrageenan. Carrageenan manufacturing is not a very simple thing. It requires a lot of washing and so on, and purification. So carrageenan is a very expensive material also. Cost of production also will be very high. And I think we have to wait for this industry to come up with a process. Until then, we will be only exporting copper ficus. But in the case of Gracilaria, we can utilize in India itself. There are more than a dozen factories which are suffering for want of raw material. You see, in South India, in Madurai alone, one city, there are more than a dozen factories which are set up for production of 25 kg of agar per day. And they all are almost closed down because they don't have enough sufficient raw material to feed them. And underutilization is not a very profitable thing, so they have all dropped off. And if only we cultivate Gracilaria, all these factories can be very active. And we need not depend on import of agar. We are importing quite a lot of agar now. Particularly bacteriological grade is being imported. It is not necessary really. And we have got the technology, we can produce the bacteriological grade agar in India itself. But they have not attempted that. The agar that is produced in India is inferior in quality, and it can be used only in food applications. That is the situation now. But if you make an effort, we can produce bacteriological quality, which will be very important, because that's a thing which is always confused. You can't reuse agar once it is used. So there is a great potential for that. So there is a lot of potential for seaweeds, not only in India, world over is very important. That is the way I look at it. So I am hoping that I will complete my 90th year in 1911. And I hope I can continue to work. That's the only thing I would like to do, because see, that's what keeps one alive. See, after a certain age, people generally in India were past 60 years, so there is no further life. Then they just go probably sit in meditation and so on. And they don't want to strain themselves. But you know, I have been always very active. Only for the last few months I am feeling a little slowed down, not really inactive, but slowed down. But I was much more active last year. So that is what keeps one going. See? And that's a lesson for everybody. Everyone, they should not think of their age at all. They must go on doing the work. And as long as you are at work, you feel quite healthy. That is what I have found. Because if I take a holiday and so on 2 or 3 days, no, I feel miserable in holidays. So I am much more happy when I am here in the lab working at my things. I have got a variety of things to do. Say, I have to edit the journals, I have to keep correspondence, I have to see people who come to me, and then people bring material for identification. So I sit and work on that. I see these are all things which keep me busy. So I told you whatever I can. Yeah, I believe that work is something which will keep persons perfectly healthy. That is one thing. Of course, I got my own health problems, but I don't allow them to interfere with my work. And so I've been fortunate. It's a God-given chance for me to work for a long time. So I started my research in 1942. Immediately after I graduated, started my research. Now it is 2010. Hope it will be more years. By the way, see, I am still organizing certain things. Now, as I told you, every year I am organizing some meeting under them. Now in November, I am having a workshop on taxonomy of marinology. You see? And the workshop is not in Madras, it is in Mandapam, which is near Rameshwaram. And I hope to train about 10 to 15 people on taxonomic methods, how to identify marinology, how to process marinology for identification, all those things. I got a program like that over 5 days. And there are a number of psychologists in India who are experts in various lines. I am getting them all together, one for redology, one for brown, one for, I am myself doing the greenology, and then one for diatoms, one for dinophycy, one for synophycy. So experts in those fields are coming, and they will be giving a lecture and then give some demonstration, help the students to identify the thing. There's a field trip in which they will all be taken to the seashore and made to collect their own algae, which they will have to identify with the advice given by the experts. That is how we are organizing it. And so far I have got about 9 responses. One more I am waiting for that. And so if there are 10 students, 10 research scholars who are prepared to come, we are going ahead with that. And right now I am preparing for this. And we have a lot of things to do. We are giving them a lot of literature about taxonomy, and then procedural matters. And all the lectures will also be written up and photocopied and supplied to them. And their accommodation, food, everything will be taken care of by us. Only thing, they have to pay a fee for the course. And even travel we may be able to meet if we get a grant for it, for which I have applied. So this is how we are planning it. And I am hoping in sometime in 1911, I can have another workshop on taxonomy of freshwater algae, which is a much more extensive thing, because freshwater algae are by far large number, and some groups are very difficult. So I hope I will have that on sometime in 1911, probably in summer. But summer is not a very ideal time for that. We will have to think of that. And so with that, we will have a complete course on taxonomy. Why I am saying that is because for identification algae, quite a number of people just bring their specimen to me. They hope I will give them the name, then they go and write a paper using that name. That sort of thing I want to discourage. I want people to learn how to identify also, how to use a flora, how to process the material. So it's a very important thing. And a number of people ask me whether I can have a workshop like that. So that's why I am doing that now. Doesn't matter, you can come in. It's all right. It's okay. Now, this is an old-fashioned inoculation chamber which I have. It works very well, so I don't want to give it up and get a new laminar flow. See, this is quite easy to handle. See, I got a UV sterilization and light for working. It's quite convenient. And, this is something which I designed about 20 years back, and for the last 20 years I am keeping this. I don't want to dispose it out. See, and these are the only cultures I am still having, but most of them are very old cultures. So I want to revive them. Some of them are drying up. So this is the thing. I got some ceratosma, some chlorella. I had also, what is that, spirulina. And I used to have a number of marine in culture also. But nobody has been working with them, so those cultures have been neglected. Now, what I want to do is, I want to revive all these cultures. Okay, I have asked somebody to prepare the culture media and bring it here. So we will pour the culture media, allow it to grow for a week, and then examine it. And then we will isolate new cultures. We want to, now I have got a program of developing cultures of marine diatoms and dinophysi if possible. Dinophysi are more difficult to culture. Diatoms can be cultured more easily. So you are going to start on that. And there is a possibility that these cultures will be useful. Somebody wants cultures of Indian phytoplankton, marine phytoplankton. And he was telling me that they had gone through all important laboratories in India. Nobody is maintaining cultures in a good condition. All culture labs, the cultures are contaminated. There is neglect, not proper maintenance. So he asked me whether I can maintain cultures. I said, I will try. And we might start that. Within a week or so, we will start all that work. Now these are all very old cultures. They are not very good. Many of them probably in the dying, some of them will be in spore forming condition. So that's why we want to revive that. That program is on now. I don't have any of the modern equipments. And a pH meter. And that's about all. The only more refined, much used is what it is, digital balance. Otherwise, it's a very simple lab, not very flashy. It's a general laboratory we are having. Say for general purposes, microscopy, all kinds of things are being, any tritimetering work and so on. All that is done here. And the only wash-up place is there. And this is another equipment which I am not using immediately, but it's a bacteriological incubator. I started because some microbiology students wanted to do projects and so on. 3 years back I purchased that. And then now I don't take any project work, so this is lying idle for the present. But I hope I can use it again. I got a small herbarium of marine algae. Which mostly prepared by myself. Things like that. Some of these things were sent by other people, and I have them all. And the number of specimens are sent, dried specimens of seaweeds. I am having them here in case somebody is interested, he can have a look at that. This is Hysekia, the Alaria scurenta, edible seaweeds from Japan. And, then I got see, these are all herbarium specimens prepared by another phycologist in India, Dr. Mrs. Tivi. She is very good in making herbarium specimens. And these are all the, you see. All these are gifted to the institute. So I am having them here. This is something which I myself prepared. It's Nitophyllum, a very delicate alga. Chondria obtusa, Polysiphonia, very robust form, Tuticorinensis. It's an indigenous one, found in India only. There are a number of things like that. You see, I got 2 volumes of this album. My own collection of porphyras from North American coast. I have got with me, but I don't know where it is. I try to mount whole specimens, so sometimes I have to use 2 or 3 sheets for mounting them. It has become faded. It's usually bright red in color. Halibedia porphyroides. For example, there's the color of it all given this first thing. Because a lot of dirt in it, not properly cleaned. That way. You see, yeah. I got one species of sargassum which I mounted over about 16 sheets or so. Huge one, it will extend the whole thing. It is folded, but it's here. See, this is the specimen I am talking about. And it has become broken. It's one of those things. See, several sheets you have to. It's a very big specimen of sargassum. I got another much bigger than that. Algae mostly from South India, a few from Gujarat coast in north. Gujarat and Tamil Nadu are the 2 states which are rich in seaweed population. Very rich areas are these 2 states. Other places also you have, all over west coast of India you have seaweeds, but the shore is so steep, very few species are there, and they don't extend to it. But in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu you have extensive flat reefs. In Gujarat, sometimes in Port Oka, for about 30-40 meters, the shore will be open during the low tide, covered with seaweeds. And in Tamil Nadu, mostly coral reef algae are there. You can find large exposures at a time. So, in those periods, if you go, you will find, as long as you can see, it's covered with algal growth. But that you get only in these 2 places. Other areas, there is seaweed, but the shore is steep. and the tidal range is less than a meter. So not much scope for intertidal. Subtidal there are quite a lot, and subtidal have been also surveyed, and quite a number of interesting algae are there. Only thing is we don't have trained divers. You see, in the States everybody dives and goes and studies subtidal algae. In India very few. So the only divers, expert divers in India are naval people. They are not interested in seaweeds. So, and there is a training center for diving also in Kadakwasta, which is a naval station. But they don't take civilians for training. I tried. I wanted to get some of my assistants trained, but they said no, it's only for naval people. But there is a good scope for that. If only we get the people with the diving equipment are able to prepare and go there. I am too old for doing that sort of work. That's why I am not doing it. Otherwise, I would like people to do that, because the subtidal in Indian waters are going to be very fruitful. Our continental shelf is very high, very extensive, and economic zone also has been extensive. So you have to go and use diving equipment, go down and see what is there. There were 2 people, scientists who are trained for diving and so on. They are all retired now, and I don't think they have trained other people. Now very few scientists in India who can dive into the sea. But there's a lot to be done that too. Still, I hope somebody will take it up. So this is about all the thing I have. The institute has given place to a number of research scholars to complete their PhD program. I can count about 5 people who took their PhD under my guidance, but of course it was collaborative between some other people and myself. Most of them, they did their work here, and they got a PhD from here. Only last 2 years I have not been taking any further students to work here, and because of my age and my being busy with so many other things, I couldn't afford to do that, so I have just stopped doing that. And I am just waiting for a younger person to take over the institute and run it. That is, in short, my my standing as an organist. Very kind of you to come and call on me. To see. Many people even in India don't know me. They have not met me at all. See, that's a funny thing. Because India is a vast country. People are scattered all over the place. It's not easy for them to travel also. And so, there are, of course, all the leading algologists are known to me. They sometime or other we meet, particularly in conferences and so on. But very few of the younger people from other parts, they can't come all the time. So they don't know me personally. You might have heard about me, that's a different thing. But I wish more young people take all this. You know, there is a great awareness of algae now. When I started research, nobody was interested in algae. That was a grievance which Professor Iyengar had, that nobody was interested in his subject. That is how he was feeling. But now, quite a lot of people say, you know, we have got biotechnology programs in almost all colleges nowadays. Most of the people who are doing biotechnology at the degree level, they want to do a project using algae, which is a very interesting thing. And daily I get about half and calls from students doing projects on algae, and then they tell me they want to do biofuel from algae, from microalgae. Can I get some culture? And what algae do you suggest, and so on. See, quite a number of people are interested. That shows the awareness of algae as potential material for industrial exploitation. Everywhere it's like that. But more people are talking about cyanophyceae. Nowadays they call it cyanobacteria, which I don't think is correct. But anyhow, that is what most people are talking about. There are a few who are thinking of other microalgae, freshwater, but seaweed research, as said, was not popular at one time. Because Professor Iyengar trained some of us in seaweed research, but there are not many. And really, seaweed research in India took hold after Bhavanagar Institute started a division of algology. That was in the 1960s. Until then, nobody in India was thinking about seaweed research. They knew seaweeds were there, but nobody was caring about it. They thought it's some nuisance, as in the old times. You know, even Greek and Roman literature referred to algae as useless things. And inutilis alga, that is the way they talked about. But now it is amazing that everybody talks about algae. And industry is showing a lot of interest now. Dozens of people are on to, especially since biofuel from algae is mooted, quite a number of people are wanting to produce biofuel from microalgae. Many of them come to me for say opinions, things like that, and they come to me with specimens for identification. That is being done. But only, of course, I don't maintain a culture for selling and so on. People ask me, can you sell me some culture? But I said, I don't sell any culture. If you want, I'll prepare the culture for you. And I would rather like you to come and work in my lab and prepare the culture yourself. That's what I tell them. Because let them learn. They should not merely depend on some culture which is already there and then exploit that. They should learn how to do things. This is how I look at things. So, see, there is one girl waiting for me to identify these algae. She has brought this. She is also working on biofuel from microalgae. She has got a photobioreactor, and then she is growing these things. And you see, whenever they come, see, I tell them first, why don't you learn how to identify algae yourself? Because instead of depending on another person, you should be able to do it. That is why these workshops are being organized now. And because I am more familiar with marine algae, I am starting with marine algae. Freshwater algae we can organize, no problem. I myself can identify most freshwater diatoms. Then for other groups, there are people who are competent. And I myself wrote a book on Chlorophyceae, and Chlorophyceae of India. And that's more like a flora. And I believe in giving keys for various genera and species, and I always prepare that, illustrated manuals, never just descriptions. So that is how, very soon my Phaeophyceae is coming out, and then I am going to follow it with marine Chlorophyceae. That nobody has monographed in India. I am working on that. That probably I will be finishing sometime in 1911 if I have the chance to finish it. So that is what I am thinking. Of course, diatoms, quite a lot of people have done. There is no monograph as such on diatoms, neither freshwater nor marine. We have to think it that. Desmids have not been monographed at all so far. It's another very big thing. I am trying to organize that with some experts. So I hope I can see all these things through. That is, my future is dependent on these things. These are the things I am thinking of in future work. And of course I can't do everything myself, but I am roping in some people who are specialized in the group, so that they will be doing actually the work. And we can hope to bring out all these books in 1911. This is what I hope we can do. But how are you going to use this material? It's all, I was talking only about myself all the time.
pa da ba ma ba da ba ma